Orange the World, the 16 days of activism for the elimination of violence against women and girls.
As we approach the latter half of the 16 days of activism to eliminate violence against women, which began on November 25th and will end on December 10th, 2020, I think it is fitting that we be reminded that activism to end this scourge is not seasonal and certainly cannot be limited to 16 days. Our activism as members of this society must be continuous and consistent. The activists in this cause are not limited to girls and women, but must be all of society. Women, girls, boys and men, business proprietors and corporate entities, institutions such as NGOs, FBOs and courts, and of course the state. Every facet of society has a role to play. In an article written jointly by Amlika Sanatan and Darren James in the Daily Express of the 2nd of December 2020, entitled Men's Role in Ending Violence Against Women, the writers reminded us that 21 of the 44 women murdered this year in Trinidad and Tobago were victims of domestic violence. Though daunting, I saw hope in the article as the authors were males who were underscoring the point that men and boys have, and I quote, a responsibility to end violence and to co-create environments of justice, peace, and equality, end quote. In that newspaper of the same day, there was a report of 2 men being charged with the rape of minors. Like the rest of the world has experienced, we too have seen a surge in the incidence of gender-based violence cases as a result of the pandemic. In fact, the Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith, has stated that in the height of the lockdown, the police received over 300 more reports than for the corresponding period in 2019. Admittedly, there are a number of initiatives and programs. There's access to the courts. There are a number of shelters which we all know are insufficient in number and under-resourced. However, there's a role for each of us, the individual, in this fight. It may be worth remembering and reciting that our individual role is important, as violence against women and girls is not limited to the heinous crimes which make the front pages. We must appreciate that violence against women and girls can be, among other things, emotional, psychological, verbal, and harassment. Therefore, understanding our individual role and responsibility is to ensure that each of us is not a perpetrator in any form or manner. It is most likely that our activism will be sustained and we shall eventually conquer this societal disease. This year's theme is Color the World Orange, Unite in the Fight Against Violence Against Women. Let's all do our part to fund, which we can do by our contributions to fundraising ventures, to respond, which we can do by being supportive to victims, to prevent by monitoring our individual behavior and identifying signs of gender-based violence, and to collect by doing our part as functionaries of our state agencies to ensure that there exists reliable systems for collecting data to be used in the identification and evaluation of solutions. Remember to keep our world, Trinidad and Tobago, orange 365 days of the year by uniting to end violence against women.
The Office of the Parliament joins the world in recognizing the 16 days of activism for the elimination of violence against women and girls.